Lab, what's going on? How are you?
I'm doing well.
All right,
Doing well.
nice, nice. All right. Well,
I heard you got a late start to your day.
yeah,
I
I
usually
did.
like that. I like waking up late.
You know,
I'm not a morning person.
I'm not either. I actually, let's see. Let me try to just see something real quick. Wait, no. Just gonna try to get a image up for the interview part.
Placeholder.
Well, yeah, we'll placeholder. We'll use so also why I am getting this set up. The reason we are gonna just use the placeholder is because Lab is in corrections and law enforcement and everything, going into that business. So you would like to remain fairly anonymous. Just for future job safety. I'm on
Mostly for the protection of those involved in possible current investigations.
Yeah, and I mean, we don't have to go into that, for the most part, it's just, the job career where you see it going and everything, just to give an
Yeah.
idea of, what it's like in the law enforcement agency. So, are you a correctional officer right now at the moment?
Right now, I'm not. Currently, I am contracted by the state government through a private security force to do security for a government building.
Okay. All right. Nice. And
But I was in corrections, and I am about to go back to corrections.
okay, so that would be at a jail or prison correctional
Right.
officer, and that's what
Right.
you used to do, correct?
I was a jail correctional officer for the sheriff's office.
Nice, nice. And what is the day-to-day basis on that? I'm guessing handling people that are just being arrested.
Right. So
Um,
so for there's a difference between a jail and a prison. With a jail, what's going to happen is, like you said, people were just arrested. Different law enforcement agencies within the county, if they don't have their own little jail, they'll bring them to the county jail, right? And so we'll do intakes. The arresting officer is going to fill out all the paperwork. But my job, what we'll do as correctional officers, we will do a full, thorough search of the person arrested. This is mostly for our safety and the safety of others in the jail.
yeah, of course.
This, trying to rule out if they have any weapons, drug, or other contraband on them. They uh, uh, will go through pockets. All of their property then belongs to the jail for the time being. We keep it for safe holding so that they don't lose it and we're not liable.
Nice. So I mean, what's probably the craziest thing you found during that? I have to ask.
Uh,
Um,
really, I haven't I never came across weapons because usually the arresting officer is going to be do a good job on that.
yeah.
But this guy just had a bunch of weed in his pocket. I mean, not even bagged up or anything. He just stuffed weed into his pocket. So,
All right.
um,
Well, that's one way to go. Oh yeah. By the way, speaking of, I have a special shirt for you today. I don't know if you can see it. Uh,
I got your stream.
I've been trying to get special shirts for everybody I have on. So this one is a drug mule. I bought it whenever it was. I don't know if you're familiar, All Gas No Brakes, but now it's Channel
Yeah, yeah,
5.
yeah.
Fuck
Right,
All Gas No
right.
Brakes. Channel
Yeah,
5. But great channel. Just so anyways, I had this in my closet, and I think that's gonna be my thing for these interviews. I'm trying to get a shirt
I like that.
to go for it. I
I
went to the gas station right before this, and the lady behind the checkout was like, "Nice shirt." I was like, "Shit, I didn't realize I was wearing this in
really
public."
putting a label on yourself.
Yeah, I kind of was
The
worried.
good thing is I never had to do any body cavity searches. So we never had any, at least on my shift, we never had any reason to. But
Nice. Yeah, that would be. I feel like that's also more of a prison thing where people are, in
type
there
of
for a
thing,
long
yeah,
time, so they're going to be trying to keep things for a while, smuggle things for a while, so they're willing
right.
to hide it up there, where is a jail. I mean, worst you got is a year. I mean, if you're that desperate, then you got a
Right.
problem.
Well, it really does depend on the court system where it is. The longest s- sentence, and really it's not a sentence because he hadn't finished his trial processes. He had been there for 6 years, um, which I believe is a violation of your constitutional rights. But you know, that's that's just the area that we're in.
Yeah, it's weird. Oh wait, I'm still on the sorry, switch this. It's weird how the uh whole system works like that because I can't lie to you, Lab. I spent a night in a jail.
Yeah.
And while I was in there, I there was this other kid in there, and this is his word on it. I have no idea what happened, but essentially he had got in there because he was driving without a license, and
Mhm.
his family just needed a little bit of money to get him out. They didn't have the money for it. And so he was stuck in there, but he kept getting days added on for just stupid stuff, according to him. But and he was trying to do good behavior, so he'd get a few days off, and something would happen, he'd get more days added on. So he was going from
Yeah.
a 30-day sentence, and he was on day like 40, I think. But he was set to get out in 2 days, and he said he'd been on his very best behavior. And that it was also what I also found interesting while I was in there, that was a stopping point for a lot of people going to prison. Um, and so, I mean, whenever you do find something on somebody, I guess you only found the weed, but does that automatically send them to a prison since they'd probably get a stricter
Uh,
sentence or a
no,
double?
it would not automatically send them to prison. They still have the right of going to court to, defend
Uh,
themselves against that. In that particular case, it was an extremely small amount, not even enough to be weighed.
oh,
So we just disposed of it appropriately.
yeah, it sounds like it was probably just a little bit that fell out of the bag.
Right.
Um, So you're in college right now,
Yes.
studying for Homeland Security, bachelor's, and then the forensic psychology master's.
Right.
So what do you plan on doing with this? Where do you see yourself going in the future?
My end goal would be the fugitive task force with the U.S. Marshals.
Fugitive Task Force?
Yes. So what they do is they kind of head the multi, it's a multi-agency task force, and what a task force is it's a multi-agency kind of group that has a specific focus. Uh, and this one would be taking down and serving arrest warrants, search warrants of dangerous convicted criminals. Um,
Okay.
so specifically, you're hunting down felons, basically. So
Nice.
just
So
really
you'd
summed down.
not necessarily like you'd be more home ground based though, correct?
Yes, it is a domestic agency.
Okay. So you wouldn't be handling El Chapo or anything like that. Well, unless he broke out of prison here.
Unless, yes, unless he was within the United States.
Okay. So that's nice. Okay. Very interesting. Very cool. So
Typically, they'll work with local law enforcement agencies. It's like uh, let's take for example a large one, the Los Angeles Fugitive Task Force. They'll have their own specific name. The head of it, or kind of who the main operations behind it, will be the U.S. Marshals. But then you'll also have Los Angeles County Sheriff's Office, Los Angeles Police Department. You might have other federal agencies in there, but you know, LA is gonna have pretty well equipped um, local law enforcement.
nice. Well, that's good to know. This
Hmm.
is where I live. So
Yeah.
nice to know I'm well equipped. If need be. So where does the forensic psychology come into the picture for it? Is it because I was looking up a little bit. So essentially, forensic
Yeah.
psychology. I'll actually let you explain what forensic psychology is because I'll probably butcher it.
So you can kind of there's kind of two sides of forensic psychology. It uh, more and more it's being used in a law or criminal base. Um, and how that would work specifically with U.S. Marshals is you're using uh, deviant. You're weighing deviant behavior, past behavior, committed crimes. Uh, you're taking all this social behavior of a person to better be able to track their movements, find their actual location, their preferences, things like this to kind of build a case on them and figure out what they will do.
Okay, okay. Yeah, because I was watching a video for forensic psychology last night and it was determining and I was thinking about, how there's these weird coincidences that a lot of people have. Like I think Jeffrey Dahmer and a few other mass murderers all had like a habit of killing animals
Uh huh.
originally and just
Yeah.
small little psychoanalyses
Right.
that would
And that would specifically be profiling.
yeah, that's what I kind of felt like. I was like, this
Yeah.
is a weird line of, uh, of profiling.
Right.
So, but you would be using it. I like how you said it though. So from your side of it, you'd be using it to locate and see what the next move these people would probably be doing.
Right. Because
Interesting.
really they're dangerous and they've proven to be dangerous through their convictions and you want to get them off the street as soon as possible because
Of course.
you know that they're going to hurt others.
Of course.
And really that's one of the main purposes of law enforcement in general.
So what do you think led you wanting to do law enforcement?
Man, you, there's the cliche everyday answers and the but they're very spot on. I like helping people. I really get a lot of joy from uh helping people and making sure that they are okay. I mean, a big part of it is my faith. I'm also a Christian, and so I think it's part something that goes along with my faith is representing what Christ wants us to be, and if that makes it's very cliche stuff.
Amen. Nah, nah, I get it.
Originally,
Yeah.
I will say, before I went to school for Homeland Security, I was accepted and planning on going into fashion school.
Oh,
Very,
wow.
very different. I was gonna go to SCAD in Georgia, Savannah College of Art and Design, do fashion design, shoe design.
Very different. Okay, wow.
Uh,
So shoe design
that did-
specifically.
yeah.
Huh. Very interesting. Very interesting. So, is that still like one of your passions? You're
I
probably
still
dressed
really
down.
enjoy. I I do really enjoy fashion. I don't really do anything with design anymore. Uh, but yeah, I fashion is still something I enjoy doing.
Nice, nice. I got a big thing for fashion as well, actually. I used to have a really big thing for shoes as well.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, at the time I lived in Louisiana and we had a 500-year flood. And all of my shoes got absolutely ruined. I was at work, I wasn't able to get there in time. I had 15 pairs just down the drain. And
Dang.
I've never really came back. Sans, hello. Never really came back from it. It's just I've never been able to get back into the fashion fully. So I just
Try to
stick
bounce
with
back.
having a pair of nice boots, and then I got a pair of all whites, which is completely different from what I used to have. I
Mm.
used to have Jordans. I used to have foam posits. Uh, I I used to love Nike SBs too. Any of the SB
Oh yeah,
series,
classic.
classics, and yeah, just it kind of ruined it for me. But that's really cool. Okay, very interesting. So could you see yourself in the future like retiring, maybe going into design a little bit, or is that just gonna kind of
I've
just
never thought
be the
about that,
fashion
but
thing?
I think it's gonna stay a hobby. I'll be honest.
That's
Uh,
awesome. That's really cool. So who's one of your biggest inspirations in fashion?
really, I enjoyed it more for me just wearing what I enjoy,
Yeah,
what
no, that's
I
how I
feel
am.
good in. Of course, there's certain brands that I think do fashion well or market their products extremely well. Supreme being one of them. They're only,
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, I think they're only popular because of their limit to uh, to sales and availability.
Yeah, and a
But
lot of people are doing that too. I mean, like I said, I live in LA, so I got a lot of their stores are here, and we have we had a line for FTP. I'm sure you're probably familiar.
mm,
Fuck the population or something like that. I can't remember. It's FTP though. There was a line for a day and a half before the store opened of just people camping out waiting for it, and I was like, this is a different kind of fashion, and they're gonna go in there and buy it. Some of them are gonna never sell it in their lives.
yeah,
Some of them are gonna go out and sell it for a four times up market. It's it's a crazy change that Supreme and these brands have brought to
mm,
the industry. I guess Yeezy as well. These shoe brands. I mean, Jordan's been doing it for so long as well.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I always wanted a pair of Concord 11s, and I could never get them because I didn't want to wait in that goddamn line. There's no
I've
way.
never waited in a line like that.
Yeah,
'Cause
I
I really
can't.
do a lot of thrifting,
Yeah, same,
kind of
same.
finding those diamonds in the rough.
That's what you got to do, man. That's what you got to do. They have a
It's
great
really my focus or my style is like 90s.
90s style.
I really enjoy the 90s.
Nice, nice. I love the 90s too. And 90s is nice. I also like I have a thing oddly enough though for like really old times. I love like a 40s suit.
Mm,
Like I don't know why the
yeah,
get down in the 40s whenever everybody was just rocking suits. I love that. I look for an excuse to wear this suit jacket every day.
yeah.
And I
I
never
mean, it's
find one.
dapper.
Yeah, I don't know why. I love it. I love the class. I love that kind of
Oh
look
yeah.
now as I've gone through life. But anyways, get a little bit back on to the task again. So how do you see yourself working up to the job as the U.S. Marshals? Remind me one more time.
Marshall's Task Force,
Fugitive
Fugitive
Task
Task Force.
Force.
Yeah.
Yep.
The so the U.S. Marshals is one of the hardest agencies to get into. They have tens of thousands of people apply every year, uh, and from what I know, they have uh, only a few dozen actually get through the academy every year. I mean, so that's maybe 60, 80 people out of tens of thousands. Uh, so part of it is luck. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping on that. But they like hiring internally. So as I said, I'm going back into corrections. I'm gonna work at a federal prison, and uh, just to get me more experience because they enjoy experience. They want people who know what they're doing. They want people who are already federal law enforcement officers. So that's kind of my thought behind that. Kind of building a ladder up to it, and the education. Um, Hopefully that'll help me stand out a little bit more. But
Yeah,
really, it's
for
just
sure,
really
for
tough.
sure, the education will. I mean, you're a bachelor's in Homeland Security and a master's in forensic psychology is, I mean, that's incredible. Uh, Especially if you're working at a prison, I'm sure you'll be able to work your way up and move on to a different agency as well. You ever thought about
Right.
going into FBI or
I
CIA
have
or any of
thought
these?
about it. I have thought about it. I well, I won't say these things,
Yeah,
but
you don't have to if you don't want to.
they do things that I don't always agree with.
Yeah.
Typically, the federal government, they don't do things I agree with, but you know,
So you're looking to be more like you were talking about earlier how there's a federal and there's a city part. You're looking to be part of the city part.
right. The U.S. Marshals is a federal agency, but they are more localized within a city, and they operate congruently with the city law enforcement. If that makes sense,
Okay.
they're not like just a big FBI, CIA are. They all have different goals,
Right. Of course. I mean,
and
and
CIA will be international, FBI domestic, but
yeah, and we all know. I mean, you say there's things you don't agree with. We all know there's proven things they've done in the past that are very disagreeable with. Uh, but we don't have to go into those. You can you can Google it at this point if anybody wanted to look it
yeah.
up. Things they've done in the past, and it's all documented. But so that's interesting. Um, so you work your way up from corrections. So police work or anything like that, or anything
Um,
localized besides corrections in a prison that you're thinking of?
so police work on the state side or local side is not going to be impressive to the marshals. However, personally, that is my backup. I would love to be a police officer or sheriff deputy.
Do you think SWAT would?
If I would actually probably try to work towards that. SWAT, possibly depending on the city.
Because I
I
mean,
think
if you're
a
good in
Houston
SWAT team,
SWAT
you can
Houston SWAT's gonna be
do
good.
well. My cousin was in I don't know how much I can talk about it actually, but anyways, he was in the SWAT team and he got a lot of very I guess I'll just say he got a lot of very good offers from different establishments after being in there. And also which makes me think, do you have any training in fighting? This happened to be a thing I talked about with Ben.
Um,
It's a thing I enjoy. Or do you plan on taking any?
that's why I did mention Mai Tai. I'm gonna try to start taking classes, but my official training is just through academy.
Okay.
Uh, and what they teach us, it's pretty basic. I do have firearms training, but not through law enforcement. It's
Okay.
just through the state
Yeah, state
certifications.
certification. Yeah. Nice. Okay. So yeah, I mean I always think that's important. That's something my cousin did. He was really big in jiu-jitsu. He was teaching me
Right.
an armbar whenever I was 13. He
Yeah.
put himself on his back and he told me to try to get him, and next thing I know I'm flat on my back. And he has my arm
Yeah.
bending in ways it shouldn't. Uh and
We focused on what's called mechanical advantage control holds uh, for corrections,
yeah, and probably
shortened into
takedowns,
MOC.
right? 'Cause-
Takedowns, yes. Pressure
yeah.
points are very, very big.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's another thing my cousin always emphasizes pressure points. And I thought that was interesting.
yeah.
It's some pressure points that if you hit and you hold right that can almost, I mean, essentially paralyze somebody into just surrendering to you. It's
Right. Right.
that's interesting. So what makes you want to go to a prison now from a jail? I mean, just because that's a step up?
It's a step up. It's going to be better funded and typically safer in most aspects.
How so?
Um, a jail is going to be dangerous because it's a constant rotation of people. People are being released and people are coming in every single day, especially in a large county where I worked. Um,
Oh,
so constant rotations of people. So housing, their cells, roommates is going to change, and that kind of brings on heightened
Tensions.
tensions, and people will be finding out about their sentencing, how their court is going, their lawyers. They're just starting to miss their family, so a lot of our case in our cases, they'll get a call. The inmate will get a call and find out uh, case isn't going well. It's not looking good for them. That'll piss them off, and so then we got to deal with that. Whereas in prison, these are convicted
They know what they
guys.
have, yeah.
They know what they have. It's still dangerous
Oh, for sure.
because you're concentrating criminals into one building.
Yeah,
They're both dangerous, but they're dangerous for different reasons.
right.
So
My stepfather actually works in one and a prison.
yeah.
And he's more on the maintenance side of
Hmm.
things for the most part, just supervising other inmates to help with maintenance around the whole building. And
That's a great gig.
yeah, I was about to say it sounds like it's a great gig as long as you have good um good trustees. And
Trustees. Yep.
essentially, you know, some of them, what he says is that they don't, they have so much time they don't really care about getting more, so they'll be caught doing stupid stuff and then he'll lose a trustee because the guy
Yeah.
has so much time on that he doesn't care about adding more, but then he ends up losing his trustee. So now he had a great
Yeah. The
electrician and now
trustee
he
is
loses
gonna
the
be a
electrician.
big. Yeah.
And
Getting to be a trustee
it's
is a big deal.
yeah, I mean, well, it knocks time off your sentence. I mean, it's from what I understood, it knocks time off your sentence and can even
It
get you
can.
some benefits. Yeah.
You definitely get benefits. Some prisons will do it differently. There are not all prisons are institutionalized by the government. They have like mixtures of privatization to them, and then there's some like fully private prisons that are kind of they're still connected to the government, but we can get into that another time.
Yeah, they run things very differently. They however they want essentially.
Essentially, and then if something goes well, then they can get a bonus from the government. But if they mess up, then they have to pay a extremely large fine.
So is that the incentive to have a private prison is to get the government bonus? I mean,
I,
what's the
I'm
incentive?
actually doing a project on the privatization of prisons right now for one of my classes, and
Really?
there's pros and cons. I would say the main pros to privatization is it if things are running as they're supposed to be, they can be safer. The officers will be paid more, which leads to less corruption within uh, the correction system, and that which is a extremely big issue in corrections is um, corruption of officers and
Somebody at my stepdad's jail got arrested for smuggling in drugs to the prison
right, and
a
that's a
few months ago.
minimum of 5 years.
Yep,
5 years in
that's
federal prison,
exactly that's what he told me. He said he's
and
going
it
up
could be
to a
more.
different one. He's going to a different
Yeah.
prison and he's sitting there now.
Yep.
Make some serious
They
money, I
I
guess.
mean, my first week working in the jail, they offered me $800 for a single pack of cigarettes.
Jesus Christ.
And so, to someone who's not paid well, that's going to be a great offer.
Yeah, really. Just one
So
pack of cigarettes?
if you don't have any type of integrity, that's really hard to pass up.
For sure. I mean, yeah,
Or
you
someone who
definitely have to stay strong if you're not getting paid well.
right, right.
So what's the
Of course,
downfalls of these?
the
Uh,
downfall is that uh there can be what's the word I'm looking for? There can be elements of capitalism to which they'll cut corners, and then in turn it'll actually be more dangerous for officers and inmates because they want to make more money, and they'll maybe not go into safety regulations as much. They'll, you know what I mean? They're cutting corners in order to make the most money because it's privatized and
How
it's a
does
business.
how does a prison make money?
Room and board of inmates.
The state pays for that?
The inmates pay for it sometimes, but typically, yeah, the state or federal government.
Okay.
But
Interesting.
yeah, it is pretty sad. Sometimes they'll get out of jail or prison and then get a check or a bill in the mail for room and board from being locked up.
Really?
Yeah.
What does that usually range on a day? Do you happen to know, or?
I actually have no idea. I have no idea.
Oh,
We
wow. I'm gonna see if I can
my
find.
within my where I was, there's no room and board. It was just taxes.
I'm trying to see if I can find it real quick. It costs an average. Well, I mean,
There's
the
gonna
given
be
from what I'm reading,
inmates
just
are expensive.
I was about to say from what I'm reading just off the cuss, it says it costs. This is from lao.ca.gov, so I mean, I guess it's.
Yep.
I mean,
good.
it's official. It costs an average of about 106,000 per year to incarcerate an inmate in prison in California. About
California will be a little bit different, but yeah, it is expensive.
wow. About three-quarters of these costs are for security and inmate health care. Since 2010 2011, the average annual cost has increased by about 57,000 or 117%.
Hmm.
So that was in 2010 2011. This is all, well, this is updated in
So
2022.
you have
So
to think these guys do not leave this place, so they need medical, they need dental, they need specialists to come in if
psychiatric
they have to.
services,
Right.
pharmaceuticals.
And then there's also things that I think are necessary, such as education and other things that the main point, and the United States has lost focus of this. The main point of incarceration should be to rehabilitate these people so that they can re-enter society as a good human, someone who's contributing to society.
Yeah, I mean,
And
that's
unfortunately,
the.
that's being lost. All we're trying to do is just punish, punish, punish. And
I
while these people
mean,
did commit crimes, and that's it's on them, they have to pay for it. But you want to at least give them a chance to come back and be productive.
yeah, most of it goes. What I'm looking at is, I mean, 44,000 to security.
Yeah.
So that would be, I mean, probably officers and stuff like that. That would be going to a little bit to them. Probably cameras, upkeep, stuff like that. Inmate healthcare, 33,000. I mean, this is California though. 33,000 on inmate healthcare. But whenever it comes to rehabilitation programs, the money spent is a whopping 3,000 out of that 106,000
Yeah. It's quite
for
unfortunate.
rehabilitation, and academic education of that is 1,600. Vocational training is $500 for each inmate for a full year. Which I think actually is probably vocational training, if I'm correct, that's getting back on your feet and everything, right?
Right.
I mean
Yeah.
that's I mean, as important as academic is, I'd say that's equally, if not a little bit more important
I
for
agree.
getting out of prison. Uh, because you can get out of prison and continue an academic education. Uh, Interesting. Okay, so what do you think the way to reform this is?
Oh man, that I think that's an extremely large question, and everybody wants to reform something in the United States, right? And I guess we can agree that it needs
True
to be done
enough. Amen.
in every aspect. Law
Yeah.
enforcement, corrections, uh, even non-criminal things can benefit from that word.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier said than done
Oh,
when you
for
have such an
sure.
you have an extremely large system that is fairly new. It, the way we uh, police and do corrections in the United States is pretty fresh, actually. Um, it originated in the United Kingdom uh, by Robert Peel, and that's why they're actually called bobbies in the UK.
Huh.
Uh, they came from this guy named Robert Peel. Anyway, he kind of came up with the modern way we think of a police officer, and then the United States later adapted that kind of system. But yes, reform. Dude, I think it needs to be more of a focus to state or local governments. That's kind of why the United States was formed in the first place, to kind of get away from that overarching bureaucracy from the uh, Great Britain.
Right.
Um, People have differing opinions on that, and that's perfectly fine. Um, but when you allow a smaller government to focus on their specific area and community, they can better approach those changes because every community
Point.
is going to be different.
Good point.
The United States is
I don't know.
amazing because there's so many different cultures, subcultures, nationalities, and that's part of what makes America uh um for lack of a better word, I can't think wantable. uh
Yeah. Well, I
eh,
mean,
that
it's
diversity we have is amazing, but you can't apply a large uh covering to every single person, every single community. It just doesn't work the same.
no. It definitely doesn't. I
But
completely agree.
so to
Having
answer your
moved to
question,
two different places.
it needs to be more localized.
Yeah. And so even for the prisons, it needs to be more localized to see how they can introduce
Yeah,
the educational and Jesus, why am I so slow? Vocational training
yeah.
and get that localized. So private prisons though, I mean, so are you pro or after doing this little project, how do you feel about private prisons? Are you pro or are you
Uh,
against?
I'm
How do you
in
feel at the
between.
end of the day?
I don't support the full privatization of a prison, but I
Right.
think pri- private business efforts are good to incorporate, such as meal services or things like that that don't not 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 main operations, but specific duties within.
Can be worked on and improved.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Lab, I want to bring you to another segment, which will probably answer that question, Kev. What's going on? Fresh out the Bobby. We're gonna move on to the thing I did with Ben, where I just show you a few images, and I want you to tell me how they make you feel. Some people see a butterfly, other people see, a train going by. I don't know. Uh, I'm trying to refrain from my curse words as much as I can. Knowing you're Christian, my mother is very
Don't
very
worry about it.
Christian, and I slip
Hey,
up in
dude,
front of her all the time. She
I work.
hates it.
I'm telling you about where I work at. You think
Oh
you're
yeah,
gonna?
very true, very true. And she's came to the realization too after living with my stepdad for a while. My dad.
Hey,
It's
you're not
uh
perfect.
there's words that you're gonna hear. But anyways, this is the segment. How
Oh
does it make
man,
you feel? You ever find any of these bad boys?
yeah. I've been threatened with him. The
Really?
let's look a little more closely. The toothbrush one is gonna be common. That ballpoint pen one, I've seen that a lot. These other ones with actual blades on them, I don't think I've seen. I know they're there, but I haven't really seen them because those are gonna be hard to
Mate.
find. They're gonna be expensive if they're wanting to get all that stuff together. But yeah, toothbrush, ballpoint pen. Yeah, I
What's
almost got stabbed by somebody with
Jesus?
that pen type one.
Jesus Christ! Yeah, this one. I thought this one was the scariest one right here.
Which
Uh,
one was it?
this one right here. Wait, can you see my mouse? I don't think you can see my mouse. It's the one coming out of your camera. The one you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The screwdriver one. That one's just little spikes on it. I don't know. I don't like it. I feel like the toothbrush, you're not gonna be able to get a good enough grip. You're gonna fuck that up.
Yeah, that's gonna be tip. Depend. So what they're not gonna aim for the body most of the time, if they have experience within jail or prison.
Yeah. So what
If they
is the
have
craziest
any,
thing that's ever happened to you on the job? Was it getting held up by one of these?
yeah, actually.
What did he
Um,
want?
so we'll go into a little bit of a story here. So we have a holding area, part of the jail, which is where more difficult inmates are housed by themselves, as in they are repeat offenders, and we know them. They're there all the time,
Hmm.
and they cause troubles. They can't be around others. They can't even be in a cell by themselves because they cause so many problems. Anyway, this area is different from the main housing area, right? These besides these guys that I mentioned, there's going to be new people that have just been booked in.
Right.
So, per federal law, they we must allow them 5 hours a week of recreational time. That can count as any time outside of their immediate cell. Um, so in adherence to that, we have to let him out. We also want to make sure he is hygienic, so he's going to take a shower. Anyway, I worked the night shift. Day apparently, according to him, day shift did not allow him. Yeah, it's very low, Kev. Um, Day shift did not allow him out, which, like I said, that's going to piss him off quite a bit.
Yeah.
So he's banging on his door. He's lighting stuff on fire inside of his room, trying to kind of smoke himself out to make us let him out so that he doesn't die from smoke inhalation. Uh, so he's doing that. We settle him down, let him out, and he just makes a break for it. Like he just sprints out. Uh, at the point of letting him out, it's me and 6 other officers, which should be more than enough, right? This guy's probably 6'6", at least 300 pounds. He's a big guy.
Christ.
He sprints. He's not super fast, but we call on the radio to close every door. We have sliding electronical doors that
Right.
is controlled by a central desk. Anyway, we tell him to close the doors. Me and one other officer are immediately behind him, chasing him, right? And he makes it through one door, we make it through, and one other officer makes it through, right? And then it closes, and then all the other officers are stuck behind the door because it locked on us. Well, then there's one other door. The inmate makes it through, the other officer makes it through, I make it through, and the guy behind us does not make it through. I mean, and it's like the door's closing slowly, and then I like slide through right at the end, Indiana Jones type stuff. Not as dramatic as that, but
No,
I'm like
yeah.
sucking in, trying to fit through. Anyway, after that door is what we call the Great Hall. It's about 100 yards length, football field size hallway. It's ginormous. From this hallway, he can actually make it to the front door. Fortunately, all the sliding doors were closed at that point. So it's basically we've quarantined into the hallway, this giant hallway. He's out of breath because he's a big guy. He's gotten about 20 yards down. Me and one other officer catch up to him. This other officer, he is about, and I mean this in the best ways possible. He's about maybe 5'1", 5'2". I don't know how big he was. He was a small guy, so I know he's not gonna be able to help me out as much as I would like to when we're facing somebody with a deadly threat. Anyway, the inmate turns around and he's got this similar to the orange handled shank there.
Yeah.
Something similar to that. So the way he's holding it, he has that orange part in his hand, and the sharp end is facing behind him. So like hands down at his side, and the sharp is behind him. So basically, he would have to like hold it up, like Jason, come up above his head and then come back down to get the angle he wants. Right? He couldn't just go forward with it. Am I describing that
Yeah, yeah,
in an effective way? Okay. So I know that he would have to raise his hand before being able to make a move to us. Okay, well he's super tense. He's sweating really bad. He's screaming. He's so loud. He's banging on walls. He's so frustrated, telling us he will kill us if we get any closer to him. And so we're stalling so that they can open specific doors for more officers, because our thought is we want to stall so that we can get as many people as here possible.
yeah.
Because that's safer for us.
Of course.
Basically, we're just talking to him as calm as we can, trying to make sure he doesn't do anything stupid right then. He starts walking towards us, and then out of the corner of my eye, I see my lieutenant just walking down the hallway, taking her time. She's just walking. I'm like, okay, I swear, dude, please, like I was like, I'm gonna die here. This man, if he does anything, I'm gonna die. He raises the shank above his head and is walking towards us, like kind of shaking it, like jumping up and down, like somebody's getting hyped up, And this is a sign of somebody hyping themselves up to do something drastic, right?
Right.
So I'm like, okay, well, here it is. My lieutenant's still just walking down the hallway, and she yells out his name. And he stops a little bit. He's still looking at us like pissed. But then he like looks out of the corner of his eye and sees her. And he's like, like you can tell that he's really wanting to just go at us. And then she screams his name again. And he just like slumps. And he's like, I just want to shower, man. And at that point, that's where relief comes to me, because she obviously she has reputation with him.
Yeah. I mean, that's...
And so at that point, everybody else comes rushing in. He's got his hands down by his side. As soon as more males show up, we grab his hands to make sure, like two to three people per each arm, make sure he can't make any movements, and then somebody else grabs the weapon.
So
we secure the weapon, everything.
I'm guessing he ends up
shower.
but he ends up getting more time, I'm guessing, huh?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. As
I
far
mean,
as I know.
Yeah, I mean,
that's
it's the
so
soul of the deadly weapon.
There's been other situations similar to that, and what we have for self-defense, all we have is pepper spray.
I was about to ask about that. So you don't have any tasers?
No, we don't have funding for that, man.
Jesus Christ.
In riot situations, we have beanbag and rubber bullet shotguns. But there's no deadly force tools allowed within the jail.
Wow.
Even on police officers coming in to drop off somebody, they have to secure it in their car. This is for officer safety, because we don't want inmates to get a hold of it.
What about prisons?
Prisons, they will have deadly force tools. Not not inside though.
Yeah.
It's going to be more perimeter based stuff, to my knowledge. My, you know,
Yeah, I'm sure it also depends on the prison.
right.
Private.
There's different levels of
Yeah,
security.
goes back to the private thing. But moving on to the next one, how does this image make you feel? You out here cheating on test?
I
You
use Chegg
familiar?
for textbooks, but I don't. I know they have tutoring services. I've
Wait, they
I
don't
don't
have the
want to pay
study
for it
guides
though.
anymore?
I
Oh,
don't know.
they used to have study guides on them, and they used to
I
be
use
exact
Quizlet.
copies. Oh wait, yeah, Quizlet, yeah, Quizlet work, yeah, Quizlet's great too. Oh
Quizlet.
man, yeah, they're fucking great. Yeah, I forgot all about Quizlet. I cheated my way through a few little pop quizzes with this bad boy right here though. Just had to pick and see if you did the same. Uh,
Yeah, I get almost all my textbooks from Chegg though. Yeah, and then they send me a little Red Bull as well.
nice,
Oh,
nice.
look at this.
Working at a jail, I'm sure you get some crazy mugshot. What's the
Yeah.
funniest you've seen? You ever have to have somebody like help somebody pick somebody up and hold them
Yes.
up for their mugshot?
Quite often, and that
Yeah.
all the funniest mugshots have come from intoxicated people. Um, typically alcohol, weed. Just because, I mean, they're not a hold of themselves. It's part of the reason why they're there. Um, but yeah, it's always intoxicated persons that have the most funny mugshots.
Yeah.
They,
My
drool, or maybe they still have some puke on them because they're just wasted, and
Yeah, I
it's all
know a
over
couple
their
people that have a
beard and their
mugshot out
shirt.
there, and it's rough. Their mugshots are rough.
Yeah.
It's for stupid stuff they did in like high school, and their mugshots aren't the prettiest. That's for sure. So I can only imagine what you'd see on a daily basis, especially when it comes to grown men that have probably been in and out, probably
Right. We
sleeping as they're taking the picture. You're having to hold them up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's
Typically on public drunkenness, TUI, stuff like that. Uh, we just put them in a holding tank until they're sober. We don't book them in anything um, until they can,
stand up on
until
their
they're of
own.
sound mind and answer our questions to the best of their ability. Otherwise, it's not entirely fair to them.
Very true, yeah.
But they'll
Whenever
just
it
be
goes to
released the
questioning and everything.
next day for charges like that. They're in and out like one day.
Yeah, all my buddies were in and out. I,
It's really not that bad
I
of a
don't,
charge. I
I
mean,
don't
you
know
can.
too many people that are still in there. Uh, not to my knowledge at least. Maybe a couple people I went to high school are in there. Actually, this
I
guy up here
no,
in the
I
top
actually
left corner
have
looks familiar.
got a friend serving a life sentence, and some friends
Jesus.
got
Yeah.
years. I'm from Houston. That's not where I live now, but I'm from Houston, and my high school is
Oh,
over four
I
thousand
can
people.
only imagine.
Uh, so we've
Yeah,
a big news was a street race um kind of gang street race organization. They put these races together for the on the interstate. Anyway, my friend was headed it up, and so he went down for it.
wow. Yeah, I've had friends arrested mostly for dumb drug related things, but
Yeah.
I did know I had not I can't even really call him a friend of a friend, but he was a guy that a good buddy of mine. He lived next door,
Mm.
so he was always around, and I never really talked to him or anything. But one day, uh, apparently he was playing a dice game with somebody else. Didn't like how the dice game ended. They got in a fight. He lost the fight, and he came back and shot him and his brother both in the head.
Mm.
And yeah, now he's sitting in jail for life, I'm pretty sure. Um, You know, just
Well, yeah, that kid,
that's the craziest one I
because
know
of the
of.
timing of that could qualify, depending on his defense, as premeditated. Since
Yeah.
he left, so they had their dispute,
Mm-hmm.
and
Well,
then he left
he got
and came back.
premeditated. I
Yep,
think
that's
he's working on narrowing it down to like he's doing. Last I heard, he was doing everything the prison system like, you know, he was the pastor
mhm,
of their little church.
mhm,
He's trying to get every single thing he could to get some time off. I think he got 35
yeah,
for one of them. So I mean, he's got 35 in a life. If he can stay on it, and who knows? I mean, he'll be old by the time he gets out.
right.
I forgot how old he was whenever he did it. I think he was like 19. Whole life gone.
Unfortunate
Um,
decisions that we make too quickly.
yeah. I mean, especially that young. I mean, what's
All right.
you don't really see anybody below the age of 18 though in jail still, huh?
Um,
For the most part.
they will go. There's separate facilities for minors.
Yeah.
Mostly for their safety, because they can be targets of uh
Yeah.
sexual aggression.
Yeah.
So there had they might get booked in at our jail, but then they get sent off pretty much immediately. One time I had there's a 17-year-old came in and he had been shot 5 times, and we had him in a wheelchair. Um, he was stable, like it was all like limb shots. So couple in the leg, arm, something like that. Nothing, no major internal damage. So that's why they send him here, because typically they'll just go to the hospital or something first. But yeah, 17-year-old. There's a extreme spike in gang violence in my city right now.
Yeah.
So gangs are typically going to be younger people.
It seems to be across the country that everywhere the
Yeah.
crime is just a lot worse. Like every time I talk to my grandparents, they ask me how it is out here in LA, and I'm like, I don't see it, but I mean, I look at the news and it appears to be everywhere. Just
LA is experiencing a dramatic boost in property crimes and
yeah,
non-violent crimes.
street.
Their violent crimes are always increasing,
In
unfortunately,
what
but
you were talking about earlier too, the street race and stuff. We got a huge problem with drifting recently. A
yeah.
lot of people are going to do drifting and burnouts in like the middle of
Hmm.
like busy intersections,
Shutting down the whole place.
shutting down the whole street and like gathering a huge crowd of like 200 people and just
I,
blocking off streets.
that
And it's
pisses me
like
off when they do
it's
that.
like, dude, there's parking lots and shit.
Yeah.
Like there's places that you can get away with doing that and not interfere, but they go to the middle of fucking intersections. Like I was driving the other day, and I'm driving by and I see there's just skid marks in the middle of Third and Beverly, or not Third and Beverly, Third and Fairfax, which is like a pretty big intersection in LA. And it's like any time of the night you would have been having enough time to do as much marks as there were. I'm talking about change the color of the whole pavement. You blocked it
Yeah.
off for a solid minute.
Whole new
And
layer.
yeah, it's been weird. In downtown, they had a lot of problems. You can see some videos of it. It's been that's the only crime that I've noticed, but I have heard about property crimes.
I think
I'm
a
on a
lot of the
second floor of a
reason,
building. I keep my shit locked. I don't think I have a problem.
yeah, a lot of the reason behind their chosen location in doing that is for reputation. It's just it's an area that's significant to a lot of people, so
Yeah, yeah. And then also, I guess probably just the excitement of making everybody wait for you. There's that power
right.
aspect of it.
Yeah.
The thrill of getting in trouble, which I'm sure you see a lot of working in those. There's a lot of people that'll probably come in there just off the thrill of it. You know,
Yeah.
there's a
And
weird,
they'll act completely differently after they got caught and they're in jail than
yep,
they were in the middle of that intersection. And
yep.
it's actually hilarious. It's
It's people don't think about it
it's
until
how
they're
it works.
there. That's how it works. All right, well, I got one more picture for you. I know you got to get to class in a bit, and I like to keep these around an hour. We can always have you back on and
Hmm.
talk about more.
Oh yeah.
But
Oh
this
yeah.
is the last
Okay.
one right here. How do you feel about these Yeezy Crocs? How do you
Easy.
feel about how do you feel about Kanye's whole lineup and everything? I just had to.
I think Kanye is a genius, but I typically don't like his style. Um, the like I said before, the marketing and behind it is what I think is impressive
Yeah,
and attractive behind it. But preferentially, I do not enjoy the aesthetic of these. Uh,
yeah. Well, you know
I
what
do
the
have one pair of Yeezys, but they're nothing like that.
you know what the thing is too. I also is which I'm sure since you have a pair of Yeezys that you can relate to. I have a buddy that had bought these, and I tried them on, and just like the Yeezys, they are extrememely comfortable.
Yeah,
Extremely comfortable.
it's I
Just like
mean
the
it's
Yeezys.
all foam, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's just he has a thing with even though I mean his product just feels good. It feels nice. And I
And
think that's
that's
also
behind
what helps it.
that's another connection to the marketing is people wearing it, they feel like their is now complete.
Yeah.
Kenya's done a good job of doing that, like making shoes
That's the finisher on the outfit.
the right the centerpiece.
Wow. You're not wrong. That's interesting. That's interesting. How do you feel? Have you been keeping up with Kanye recently? Guy's gone fucking insane.
Yeah,
It's
it's hype for his next album. That's all I think it is. He's a
wow.
genius. I think he's a genius. I don't think he makes good decisions, and I don't agree with everything, but I think he's a genius when it comes to what he sells, which is multiple
Wow.
things.
You're not wrong there. You're not wrong there at all. I could see that for sure. I didn't even think about that. Poor Julia Fox though, dude. She's sitting in a room somewhere crying her eyes out. Uh poor girl. But anyways, Lab, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on. I
Oh
really
yeah,
appreciate it. I think we got a good bit going, you know. It was a solid hour 10. Give you some time to, you know, get ready for class and everything. And but this was great. I'd love to have you back on another time too, just to
yeah.
catch up a little bit and talk a little
I
bit more
got
about
plenty
it.
of stories. Good good advice for people who want to be safe where they live.
Yeah, well, you know what? That's what we can talk about next time too. Just you know,
Yeah.
just home safety and community safety,
Oh yeah.
stuff like
Right.
that.
Right. Right.
But Lab, this has been a pleasure. Thanks so much, brother.
Yeah. I appreciate the time you've taken for this.
Oh no,
Thank you,
dude.
chat.
Oh yeah, thank you guys. Yeah, thank you guys for hanging out.